go to your all programs. Let's open up Microsoft Access that way. Okay, now go ahead and click on that resource. So go ahead and click Continuous or Metadata Fast Track, Data Inflow, and now the second button, Import Raw Data and Import Text File, that purple button. And click OK. Woohoo! Click OK. And now click C, Inspect Data Import Table. Let's just look at it. Okay, time, concentration. This looks great. And so we can see that it starts 4/11 at 11 o'clock. Can you pull that grabber bar? See how the time header is yellow? Can you hover pull that to the right. Okay, so yep, it starts 4/11 at 11. And now go to the fast forward button on the bottom left and go to the last record. So 504, it seems like maybe we're missing one line because the EBAM was 506, wasn't it? Or was it 505?
I believe it was 506.
There was 5, but
yeah.
it was blank.
There was a blank at the end. Okay, great. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Sam. Oh, so that's important to remember because it's probably with all of your files that way where the last row is blank. So you might want to write that in the SOP. Okay, so that's good. So we've got 504 rows because the 505 row raw data file had that header row, and it goes from 4/11 at 11 to 5/2 at 10. And so it looks really perfect. So go ahead and click the lower X on the top right. Say yes, it doesn't really matter. I don't think it'll save it anyway. Now continue to transfer to verification table form. Okay, now click M1, correct EBAM. Yep. And now set up transfer to data verification. And this is the only scary part of the toolbox. So referring to your SOP, and this is already done because it's just pulling up what we did before. So it's already done correctly. And I'm just going to check it against the SOP to make sure. So we've got time is mapped into the date time field, and that's good because you've got time with a colon rather than some data loggers have time without a colon, and then it's a little trickier, but it's clearly time. And then your hourly concentration is mapped into concentration. So you can go ahead and click the lower X, and it'll open every time like this, but if nothing changes, like this is going to be your mapping for your EBAM data. Your MET will be a different mapping, but it'll save that also. So click F, transfer to data verification from data import. Okay, yes, say yes. 504 rows, correct, say yes. And inspect data verification table. This is good. It means that the pipeline was cleaned out from the first import. Okay, 504 rows. We have a lot of columns we have to populate, but that's okay. We'll do it in the next step. And we've got concentration and date time, which is the most important columns after all. So go ahead and click the lower X. This looks good. Okay. And now update site and sampler ID. And it's going to say, are you sure you want to do this? Say yes. And 504 rows, say yes. Let's just look at the view dates and times and make sure that it is what we think it should be. Okay, 4/11, 11 o'clock. Okay, go to the fast forward button and let's just make sure. 5/2 at 10 o'clock, yay. All right, so go ahead and click the lower X on the right. And now what we had in the SOP was that your EBAM logs each row with the start of that measurement. And I'm pretty sure we got that from the EBAM manual. Most data loggers should log the row with the start of that hour. So most do not need this correction. So let's just assume our SOP is correct. But you know what? You should look that up in your manual. So go ahead and click that gray button, continue to import and qualify pollutant concentrations. And now we get to the really fun stuff. Woo-hoo! Okay. So now it's asking you, this is PM10 continuous, and this is important for you in the next screen to select milligrams per cubic meter under step K on the left there, because a lot of times it's micrograms, but yours is milligrams. So make sure you select that one, and then click that purple button K, update selected pollutant and units, and say yes. And it's going to be 504 rows again. I feel like I'm a flight attendant. I've been on a lot of airplanes lately. Okay, great. So now the toolbox is saying, based upon what the toolbox knows about what you're doing here. So what this range is here under L, the middle panel from 0.004 to 999 is the range that AQS thinks your EBAM should have. It could be that, you know, you want to say, well, it's never going to go up to 999. Let's make it 500 or something like that. So that's what this range is on. Let's just go ahead and leave this the default, just because if there are errors, they're usually outside this default range. So click the display data outside of this concentration range button, which is the left one under there. Yep. Oh. We have some data outside of the range, 61. Okay, so I'm going to write that down. We have 61 records. Is it over like just one time? Okay, so now let's go ahead and just flag the ones that are outside this range just in case, or just in cases, as they say in Portugal. Qualify these monitoring data based on these out of range concentrations. So go ahead and click OK. Say yes, and it'll tell you 61. It should tell you 61. Yes, yes. Okay, so now those are all flagged with an R, just in case we find out there's something wrong with them. Now, the next question is, the toolbox is suggesting that from 1 hour to the next, it shouldn't change by more than 0.012 milligrams per cubic meter. But I think of it in terms of micrograms per cubic meter just because that's the way I think. So I'm thinking of this as 12 micrograms per cubic meter, which is kind of like average outdoor background. At least it is around here. And it is kind of indoors too. So it's saying that if it varies by that much from 1 hour to the next, do you want it to flag it? And I would say yes, because that's like a pretty lot, you know. So go ahead and click qualified data greater than this difference. And go ahead and click OK. I don't think it's going to take very long. Okay, click yes. Yes. Okay. I think it's done. Great. Now, do you have any QC data from this time between April 11th, 2013 and May 2nd, 2013? Did you do any QC checks or anything like that that like maybe failed that we should know about at this point?
All I do is audits in the machine right now. Is do my monthly calibration.
Okay. Do you know if you did one during this time period? Well, let me ask you this. Did any fail?
Not that I know of.
Okay. All right. So then you're fine. This would show if you had entered it into the toolbox, but you know, you could flag something now, like say you had to do a repair and it was down for 6 hours or something like that. You could flag it here, but you don't have any information to flag it with, so that's fine. And then the next one, if you had like an external audit or somebody come in where they wanted you to flag data in certain time periods because, you know, whatever, they swapped out their equipment or something, you could flag it in that step, but you don't have anything like that. So go ahead and follow the red arrow to the top, and then let's inspect the data verification table, that top white button in the right. Okay, so this is everything that we've just imported, and you can see, like, so you see that in the qualifier column, there's a row there on the 12th at 5 o'clock in the morning, and it has multiple flags. So it's saying that it's out of range because it's less than whatever that lower limit was. I think it was like 0.004 or something. And it varies by more than 0.012 milligrams per cubic meter or 12 micrograms per cubic meter, which is like a whole average outdoor worth of concentration. If that varied by more than that from 1 hour to the next, and it did because it went from -5 to 9, so that's 9, that's 14, so that's changed by more than the 12, so that's why it flagged that one. So you're going to have some qualifiers in here, but that's fine. You know, we understand why they're there and we want them there. Why don't you pull your grabber bar down and let's just check out some more rows and make sure we don't see anything wonky. So there's one where it changed by more than 12, and that's fine. And then there's some ones where it was low, it was 1, and then it was -1, and that's outside that range. I think it was 0.004. So this looks fine. I don't see anything weird when we didn't have any other flags besides those two. So this looks good. Why don't you just pull the grabber bar down to the bottom, all the way bottom, just to check, to be sure we don't see something blown up. No, this all looks totally fine. Even the times are in order and everything. It's beautiful. Okay, go ahead and click the lower end. Now you can go ahead and transfer from data verification to data archive. And it will say, are you really, really sure? Click yes. And yes, we're adding 504 rows to our archive, yes. And now let's inspect data archive table. And it should have the previous import and this import. So now you've got over 1,500 rows starting from 226. Go ahead and see the start date header there, and see there's like a little tiny arrow to its right. Click that arrow and do sort newest to oldest. Yes, right? Click newest to oldest. And it goes 5, 2 to 10 o'clock. So that's totally perfect with what we think we have. So go ahead and click the lower X. Your data is like really beautiful. I like the EBAM output. It doesn't matter. If you click yes, it still won't save it. So now go ahead and click the clear data verification table. Okay, delete. Yes, we want that data verification table empty. Go ahead and delete it all so it's ready for the next import, which is what we did the first time because it was empty for us. Okay, so now you have imported this file.